Greetings everyone. In this tutorial we're gonna talk about Foundry. So if you started smart contract development and you used until now Remix to publish couple of contracts, and Remix is pretty good especially for the beginners, and you want to do the next step in evolution as a smart contract developer, then this tutorial is for you. There are a couple of frameworks for working with smart contracts. The first one was Truffle, and it was pretty good at the time. I used it a lot, but nowadays it's not used so much. Then we have Hardhead by Nomics Foundation, and this one is also very used. Um, I used it for almost 2 years now. Um, the problem with Hardhead is that the Nomics Foundation stopped their biggest project, like Nomics, where they had some kind of coin market cap project, and at the moment is sponsored by the Ethereum Foundation. I don't know how much this project will last. Now, going into Foundry, this is a number one tool to learn, and it is pretty complex, but we are going to make it simple, take it step by step. It has a fast testing, it has lots of stuff. And if we look at some big projects, for example Uniswap v4, you see they require Foundry, so projects are moving to Foundry. Before we go into code, make sure you have an API key, because we are going to publish a simple contract on Sefolia testnet. Also you need some kind of Sefolia ETH. And let's get started. So I'm gonna close everything and just leave this page book.getfoundry.sh, and this is the main page for Foundry. And first what you want to is you want to go to the installation and install Foundry on your terminal. I suppose you use either Linux or Mac OS. They have some precompiled binaries for Windows, so you can use Windows, but I strongly advise you, if you're on Windows, you shouldn't do any smart contract programming there, because Windows is such a target for hackers, and it's constantly security issues. So use either Linux or Mac. So this being said, let's go ahead and make this command to install Foundry, and they say run Foundry app. So we are gonna run this stuff. It's gonna do its thing, and it installs Forge, Cast, Anvil, and Kissel. We are going to interest in Forge command, so if we write Forge help, you see that this command is running okay. Next, we go here in first steps with Foundry, and you say here's how you create a new project. Forge init, the project name. So we are in an empty folder, so I'm gonna create a Forge init intro Foundry. And I'm gonna cd into it. I'm gonna remove, or I'm gonna leave it, and I'm gonna open it in a new window. So what we have here, we have some GitHub workflow. It doesn't interest us at the moment. we have a lib folder, and here all the libraries that Forge needs and the libraries that we will install sit. We have a script, and we will use this script when we deploy the contract a little bit later. We have a source, and here our smart contracts sit, and we have a test folder with .t.sol. And the testing in Foundry is pretty complex. Like, it has almost everything you need for testing, and also runs very fast. It's a subject for another tutorial if you want, but in this tutorial they'll just focus on the bare minimum that you need to get started with Foundry. Okay. We have this Tumblr file, and here you can configure more things, for example Solidity version, etc., and the readme. So if we go to the terminal, we should be able to build this. So the command to build the smart contract is forge build. If we would have to have an error, let's say we have an error here, if we build it, you see, you will get a warning. What can we do next? So we installed it, we have our basic contract. The next thing, we're gonna learn how to work with libraries. So if we go here under dependency, you see that to add a library, use forge install, and you need to know the command. So let's go ahead and install OpenZeppelin. So forge install OpenZeppelin, and it's like this. To install OpenZeppelin, you have to go on each project page and see if they have a forge install command. You can also install libraries via npm. It's also very easy. Okay, so now if we go under lib, we see that it created a folder containing OpenZeppelin contracts, which is a little bit cleaner than if it was in node modules and you open these node modules and you have here 1000 folders and you scroll to until you reach your library. A little bit cleaner, okay? So now let's go ahead and see if we can add ownable to this contract. So import OpenZeppelin contracts access ownable.sol. Yes. And we get an error. Why? It says file not found. Maybe I mess up something, so I'm gonna check if I wrote correctly. So it's under contracts access ownable. Contract access ownable. Yeah, I write it okay. What is going on? So in order to make this work, we need to tell Foundry where it is this library, and it's called via remappings. So here we have remapping dependency. So we need to do the following: create a folder remappings.txt, and here in remappings we tell it what does this at OpenZeppelin mean. So at OpenZeppelin equals to slash equals, you see slash equals to lib OpenZeppelin contracts and slash. Okay, let's save it, and we still have this error. Let's try to build it. still complains. And I don't know how it is in Mac, but in my case I'm gonna close VS Code and open it again. Maybe there's some easier way, but I found that closing and opening should fix it. And it seems I made a mistake. It's with OpenZPP alien, so I forgot to put an E here. Also, I forgot to put an E here. Yeah, you have to be careful on such things. Okay, so now that we have see how we import it, I'm gonna transform this contract to be ownable. And ownable requires a constructor is an initial owner, like this. Now if we run forge build, we will get an error because under test here, this is a sample test, we don't pass an initial owner, and you can pass others and others, like address 1. More about testing later, and now it should be fixed. Good. So we learned how to import libraries. You have to be careful to put exactly the remapping in this format. Okay, you have to be careful to put the exact name. Next thing that we will do is we're going to publish and verify the contract. So what we need is to create an env file, and in this env file you have to put the following: the RPC that you want to use. So in my case it's the Folia RPC, and here I would go to alchemy.com and get start a Cefolia project, because the official one sometimes it doesn't work correctly. So you have to fill this one here. Next, you want to put dev private key. So you put your private key from MetaMask or from where you have it with 0x in front. And here EtherScan API key. For this is EtherScan API key, you use it, the env, exactly in this format: EtherScan underscore API underscore key uppercase. You can use other formats, but then you have to manually point it where it is for the verifying, and it's too much work. So you put here your API key from EtherScan. Good. Let me pause the video and put some values. Okay, so in env I have the correct values that for deployment. Next, what we want to do is modify this script that we will use to deploy the contract. And if we go here in the book for the deployment, deploying and verifying, it's pretty hard to do these commands. So here is an easier version, in my opinion. So an easier version is under this run. You can use the following: and I'm gonna put this code in GitHub so you can copy paste it easily. So what we do now, we import the private key, we initialize our account, and we start broadcast and stop broadcast, and here we can put all our deployment code for deploying the contract. Maybe you do an airdrop, maybe you do some minting, maybe you do initialize some external libraries, or I don't know, whatever you do in your smart contract, you can all put it here. I'm missing the counter here. It doesn't matter if it is unused. So this is a script for deployment, and instead of doing all this stuff here, which is hard to read, I suggest you do a deploy testnet, a simple script, deploy testnet.sh. Let's make it runnable, that you used to just call deploy testnet, and this script has something like this. Again, I will put it in GitHub. We have bin bash. I'm using Linux. I do a source on the env file. There is a message that we deploy in Symphonia, and there is this command that calls this script here, passes RPC URL, passes a broadcast. Again, if you want to see if the everything is okay, you can just delete this broadcast here. Passes verify, and this is how much logging you want to make it. So before I run it, I remove this broadcast here, and let's see if everything runs okay. There's some errors, I don't know why. Let's try with broadcast. Okay, now it's going okay. It automatically calculates how much gas, how much you paid for the deployment cost, and it submits for verification the contract, and also pulls if it is verified. So there you go. We have our contract published and verified in Etherscan just like that. Pretty cool. And with this we conclude this tutorial. Just a recap of what we learned. We learned the basic Foundry project, how to import libraries, how to deploy, and how to verify, which is pretty easy. Let me know what you want me to talk about in the next tutorial. Is it Foundry, we do some testing, or do you want some other topic? Because I don't have any ideas for more tutorials. I will rely on you to give me some ideas. This being said, I wish you a very good day and happy learning.